name is Mandy Yeager. I'm with Single Parents Resources and Support. I'm super excited. Tonight we are talking about authentic friendships. So I figured the best thing I could do is bring you some of my dear, dear friends. So Teresa Cardinal has been a friend of mine for a long time, which says something about her character, not mine. And Nicole Snyder is a friend who we've been friends for a handful of years now. Yeah. And I'm just really excited to have you share. I think you've got a great perspective, and you're a great friend. I mean, all of you guys are great friends. And then we have Abby Olson. We've been friends for a while. Not always super close friends, but she's definitely somebody who is leaving a mark in friendships and mentoring, and I'm excited for her to share, just because I think she's a wealth of knowledge. So, without further ado, I'm just going to ask some questions to kind of get the conversation going. So first up, Teresa, how did you meet me?
I met you at church.
Yeah.
We went to Harvest Fellowship together.
Okay, how was that?
When we met?
Yeah.
Were you even a believer when we met?
Barely.
Okay. Yeah, a baby believer. She had a terrible boyfriend and two sweet little kids that didn't always listen to her.
Yeah. Single mom in it.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Abby, how did you meet me, and what do you remember?
We met at church, different church.
Yeah.
I was newer, so I feel like I kind of met a lot of people at the same time. I do remember meeting you. I do remember being at your house for something. Either you needed something for moving, or I did. There was a swap of something.
Yeah.
I do remember you told me you were a nurse, and then you kind of told me your story, and so that was, yeah. I mean, I was just, your story was tough, so I was just like, wow. I mean, from my heart, kind of broke for you in a sense too. But yeah, just met you as a single mom too, trying to process a lot.
Yeah, so side note, I have, my story is kind of big and bold, and I mean, I was featured on the news, so that tells you anything. So, because it was so heavy and big, a lot of times when I met people, I would lead with my story and just share everything. And I remember people being like, okay. I just want to share, like, as far as friendships go, you definitely don't need to share your story. It's not meant for everybody. I don't think it really served anything. I think it was just, like, I was just bleeding on everybody, you know? And so something that I've learned about friendship is just that, like, your story is yours and valuable, and sometimes you can hold it a little tighter, and like, not everybody's worthy of your story. So that was just a lesson that I kind of learned, kind of moving forward. Just, it's not the way that I want to start friendships, you know? Nicole, how did we meet?
So we were neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
and our daughters were friends. And I would say, and so you were already married to Nick, so you were not a single mom at that point. I would say at first, I just felt like we differed very much in like our parenting style, which I later learned was due to some parts of your story at the time that I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was much later that I learned those things. And so I, for a long time, really just kind of kept you at a distance because I had my own judgments and then believed some of the things that I heard that weren't necessarily true or were partially true. So, and then I was brave enough to lay that all down because the Lord told me I needed to, and I'm super grateful that I did because it has created a really beautiful friendship that I really am blessed by. So, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm super glad. So when I met Nicole, I could sense that, like, there was some sort of distance or whatever, and I was just like, well, that door's closed, so, you know. But I do think God had some intention in that, and, you know, we kind of pushed through it a little bit, and sometimes when you meet people, they don't look like what they really are, or, you know, and certainly, people talking, gossip, played a big role in that, people not speaking truth, or just not understanding, you know, so, that's just a part of, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, we know these things, we teach these things to our kids, and yet here we are, even as adults, and sometimes we do those same things, and I'm so grateful, because I do think, like, what a shame it would have been to miss the friendship that we have, and so, that was one of the reasons that I wanted you here tonight, because, our relationship it wasn't just like, you know, we hit it off, and we were great friends, and we had all this stuff in common. There was a lot of, like, differences, and, you know, differences of opinions, and that's one of the things that I love about, some of these friendships, is that we are very different, and, so one of the Bible verses is, iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another, and you can't do that without kind of bumping into each other, and, you know, it's painful, like, you're grinding at things to sharpen something, so, I'm super.
I think one of the things that I wish that I'd have done sooner is been brave enough to ask questions. Like, instead of just hearing what I heard and, like, not caring enough to find out the truth, because that was easier, right?
Yeah.
Just asking. And I think part of that is due to the fact that our start of friendship, or like interaction, was very, just a little, like you said, kind of tense-ish, and so there wasn't like a base of like comfortableness with each other.
Yeah.
For me to feel like I could ask you those kinds of questions for clarity. But I think the reality is that didn't exist when we did finally get to that place where I asked, right? So it really is a matter of like just having to be brave enough to do that. Like, if you're unsure, like, I always felt like she was a person I could be friends with. I just didn't know what that could look like because of all the things that were in my head. And I was just really grateful that God kind of made us come back together, so that I had to ask the questions. But I would tell you, like, don't wait. Like, if you think that there's someone that you're like, I've heard these things and I'm not really sure, like, just ask. Like, the worst that's gonna happen is you're gonna find out that the things you heard are true, and then you can walk away. Like, I don't know. But I don't know what I would do if I had missed out on our friendship.
I think God puts people in your life over and over again to give you those opportunities to do that. Because, I mean, we went to church together, but then you were hit and miss going to that church, and then we did a church plant together, and then she was in our small group, so then we were more close. So God was giving opportunities to build that relationship, by putting you in places where we were at the same place.
Right. Well, and the other thing is like, observe what's happening. You know what I mean? If you're hearing gossip about somebody, then whoever is saying things, you need to know that if they're gossiping about one person, they're gonna gossip about you too. So, you know, when you're hearing things about somebody, we need to be the adult in the room. We need to, you know, confront it and shut down gossip and be that kind of a friend, you know, that can help break down some of these walls, because that's really important. Okay, so common theme, we met, a lot of this is church, a lot of positive environments. So, Teresa, you actually were assigned to be my mentor.
I
was?
Remember?
No? It's been a long time.
It has been a really long
It's been a
time,
long,
yes.
cause I met you when the kids were like 3 and 4 maybe, were they even that
Like
old?
4 and 5.
Okay, yeah, so really little, so probably 20 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't remember, sorry.
Yeah, no, I just remember like we were paired, you were gonna be my mentor, and I was like, I don't think I have a good her. So, can you share how many kids you have?
I have 12.
Yeah. And I thought that was crazy.
It is a little crazy.
I understand it better now, so like it's okay. But I just was like, what do I have in common with somebody with 12 kids? I have 2 and I can't barely keep them alive. So I don't know what, but you were what I needed, for sure. So,
I wasn't
thing,
sure.
Poor thing.
I wasn't sure, because I, you know, even as a mom of 12, you never feel like you're doing enough, or that you're doing it right. You're just doing it. You're just doing it to survive, you're doing the next great thing. So there's always that element of, I'm messing them all up, they're gonna be disasters when they grow up, they're all gonna need therapy. Even now, some of them are grown and out, I'm like, maybe you should try therapy, I'm so sorry, but yeah, yes, I did not feel equipped to be a mentor. I'd never mentored before, that was a whole new thing.
Oh, trial by fire.
Yeah, you were the first.
I should throw you in. Okay. Well, all right. So, Abby, will you share with us, like, what's the difference between mentoring and friendship? Because share a little bit about what you do.
So I'm at the Waters Church, and we've been there for 12 years, and we were youth pastors for years. So when we came to the Waters, my husband's an executive pastor, and I thought, okay, what do I do now? Like, now I have to adult. We're not in like kids ministry, youth ministry anymore. And my pastor said, well, what are you like passionate about? Like, what would you do more of if you could? And just the word mentoring came out because I just have valued that so much in my life. I am like who I am because people chose to pour into me. And so I was trying to figure out, well, what does that look like with adults? You know, like, how do you get women connected? I always would go after people that had things I wanted or like wanted to learn about. So like there was a lady on staff that had 4 girls. So when I got pregnant with girl number 4, I was like, hey, can you do coffee? Like, I'm gonna need you. And so I just would pursue people. And so I thought, well, how does this work in the church? How do we get ladies connected? How do we figure out, okay, you have walked through this with the Lord and have had victory in it, and she's going through this. How do we connect those 2 ladies? And so I came up with a system, really. I kind of joke it's like eHarmony for mentoring women in spiritual walk in their Christianity, and it works. So I have mentors that are like vetted and they've been walking with the Lord for a while. It doesn't mean anyone's perfect, that's for sure. I have some of my mentors sitting here, and she's saying, no, we're not perfect. And then I have someone will fill out an application basically wanting a mentor. They'll say what their availability is, what they're looking for, what's their church background, where, you know, like dynamics. And so, yeah, we just kind of partner ladies up. And I mean, some of the things that I really, you know, the enemy doesn't want 2 believers to come together and share and grow and, you know, deposit things that like someone has walked through into someone else where they don't maybe have to struggle as much because there's wisdom there. The Bible says to seek wisdom out. And so I ask the questions like, what's your availability and like what are your expectations, so we can like look at those up front and help set up like successful pairs. Where if someone has 2 schedules that aren't going to work, I won't match them up. Like, why would I do that? So I think the difference in mentoring and friendship is like mentoring has, I mean, it's specific. One person is got wisdom or experience or a skill, and they're pouring into someone else who's receiving. And so it's kind of like there's recognized roles there. And so someone's gaining knowledge and being equipped in some way. And I mean, this happens in the church, it happens in the workplace. I mean, it's mentorship is secular word, it's a Christian word, discipleship, you could look at it that way. But there's a specific purpose or structure with schedules, goals, potentially accountability. It might be for a certain amount of time. It might be that a skill is learned, and so then that's like check the box type thing. Where I would say friendship is more mutual, both are giving and receiving, and I think you're learning all the time from people. You got different personalities, different skills, different paths, so you still learn in friendships, but it's more of a mutual, it's relational first. You might get along because your personalities are complementing, you have similar, interests, or you just enjoy being together. It's not necessarily structured, but I would say both take intentionality. So I think to be friends with someone, you need to be intentional, and I think in mentoring, there's intentionality to do it. I think they both need honesty and trust to a certain level. You're trusting the person that's putting in, and you're also being honest with them so that you can grow. And I think that those same qualities kind of need to be there with friends also. So that's kind of, I think, some of the differences.
Mm-hmm. So can mentors become friends?
Yes, absolutely. Would you say so?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure.
We're
We're
definitely,
definitely,
20 years later.
right,
Yeah.
we're definitely more friends than mentors now.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
I think there's a natural progression towards that. There can be, and if both people are honest, are open to that, and there's room, I think it does grow into that eventually.
But not given.
Not a given.
And it doesn't have to be.
No.
With mentorship, it can be a
Yeah.
kind of like a term thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas friendship is more, like you said, that mutual or whatever.
Yeah.
I just think that's good to differentiate, and I think mentorship is incredibly valuable, and like everybody should have a mentor.
Yeah, and I think, in the beginning, if it's for mentorship, the roles being defined are helpful and healthy, because it establishes the system of one person growing and receiving input. And so I think it makes it less messy. Sometimes like a mentee might want to be giving back to the mentor just as much, because they're maybe not used to receiving. We don't always have an easy time receiving and being on the receiving end, and there's something in us that wants to give back. And so just stay kind of in the boundaries of what it is in the beginning, because you need to learn to receive, and that this is your time, and this person's willingly doing that, and to accept that is healthy.
Very good. So for all of you, what do you look for in friends? Like Abby, you said you seek out people, but for all of us, how do you determine whether someone would be a good friend?
For me, it's somebody that I can trust, that I know they're not gonna gossip about me behind my back or say bad things about me to my spouse or whoever, their spouse. Unless they're joking. Yeah.
I would say I look for someone that has similar interests. Oftentimes, some of my best friends have come out of us being kind of in the same season in life, right, or the same circumstances. We were a military family for a long time, and so a lot of my really close friendships have come just from living that life together, which is, has its own challenges that are very different than the civilian sector. So some of it is that, just finding people that you have things in common with, but then I think trust is important, and I think having similar values, and especially when I was raising my kiddos, because my youngest is 18, but when they were little, there were times when I would start a friendship with someone, and they weren't a terrible person, but we totally differed on the way we parented, and I was like, we can still hang out, but it's going to be limited, right? Because I just didn't want that influence with my kids. And so I think sometimes it's that, understanding you know, what your needs are for life in the moment, and choosing your friends, you know, the friends that, one, value you, but also that fit well into what is going on in life in the moment.
I think, Nicole just said commonalities. I mean, sometimes that's just how it comes together, is you're kind of on the same track, or you meet them in common places like church, or, you know, a lot of sports families become close because they're spending so much time together, and that's just their world. And so, I mean, I do remember hearing as a young parent, like, if you can, try to be friends with your kids' the parents of your kids' friends, because it just makes it a little easier, and it's not always possible, and you still gotta figure that out, but, I would think too, like, just someone being a good listener, staying curious, not assuming, maybe giving the benefit of the doubt, reliability, grace, someone who's an encourager, yeah, those are just some qualities.
One of the things that I teach in single moms is friendships. I kind of explain it like a bullseye. So when you're looking at a dartboard, the bullseye is super small, right? You can only fit 2 or 3 darts in that space. And your friendships are kind of like that dartboard. Like, there's probably only 2 or 3 people who you're really gonna share like your soul with, you know, like you're gonna go to when you're really struggling and be honest and, you know, share intimate things. And then like the next ring are people that maybe you work with or you're close to, or your family or whatever, where you have, you know, relatively deep conversations, and it's not just, you know, talk about the weather, but it's not that real super close, you know. And then you got the next ring out, which is more like acquaintances and whatever. And people will move in and out of those rings or that bullseye depending on the season. I think, Teresa, you and I, there's been times where we've been super, super close. And there's been times where like you had a baby. And so
Really?
I couldn't call you all the time and cry because my life was a disaster, to play off a little bit.
Yes.
But I think there's seasons in life where, you know, like, I'm super busy. I just don't have the capacity right now to, you know, to be in 4 people's bullseye. Like, I just don't have that capacity. And so, I think something that's really important too, and Abby, you and I had kind of had this conversation, was the same with mentoring. Sometimes in our relationships, we need to have a little bit of thought and share with people, like, this is really what I'm looking for. I really want someone that I can call, you know, probably twice a week to talk through things. Or, you know, when I was a single mom, I would call Teresa all the time. Like, I remember one time I called her and I was literally crying, and I was like, they eat all the time. I can't, like, all I do is to feed them. And she's like, okay, so can you make pasta salad and put it in the fridge? And I'm like, what? Yeah, like a big bowl of pasta salad. Throw some veggies in it. It'll make you feel like you're winning as a mom. And they can just eat it all the time. And I'm like, really? And I mean, sometimes you just have to, I don't know. But not everybody has the capacity to take your phone calls. So it's good to just be upfront with people.
I think you have to learn that skill too, to kind of navigate it, because if it's not a formal matchup setting up, then like you're maybe not asking those questions up front.
Yeah.
You know, like I encourage mentors, mentees to be like, hey, I can take a phone call, or oh, I can't, or I can just meet every 2 weeks, and that's, I've got a career and a family, that's all I can do. Some are more on the empty nesting side and they have more time they can invest. And so Amanda and I talked a little bit about like, it's not that your expectations are bad, it's just, are they off with that person, and finding that out instead of taking it personal or getting hurt, or like, oh, I'm not gonna do this again because it didn't work.
Right.
It's just, it's being aware of those things.
Yeah. At the time I was a homeschool mom, and so I was home and available almost all the time. now I work, so now when she needs to cry on my shoulder because Nick can't do the technology,
Not true.
she usually just sends me a text, hey, do you have time to talk? And I'll, no, I can't, but I can at this time, so,
Yeah.
I mean, we still make it work.
We do, and we've had enough conversation in relationship. So one thing personally about me is that normally I handle things pretty well, but sometimes big life things happen, and if I'm crying, there's a problem. So Teresa knows me well enough to know that if I call her and I'm crying, that's like a, if you can pause, Amanda's like, she really, really needs you. So there's just different things that, like, because we've been friends for so long, we've been able to kind of share detail, or, you know, we know each other's personality enough that we can kind of meet needs differently, you know, and uniquely.
Right.
So, I appreciate you. So just a couple Bible verses here that I think are really good. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. And walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. So again, you know, just talking about like, what are you looking for in your friends? And I think character is something that, especially if you're gonna allow somebody in that bullseye, like you need to look for their character. And if you're gonna allow somebody to speak into your life and you're gonna give them that space, then it's really important that you do kind of look at, you know, are they living the life that you would want? That's one of the things that I kind of think about, you know. So for all of you, how can you tell when people possess the qualities that you're looking for? What do you look for as proof?
I think you have to be observant, and you have to listen more than you talk sometimes. But I've also asked questions, like, you know, like Amanda said, like our friendships are us giving permission to someone else to have influence in our life, and you have to be careful about who you allow to do that, because if you're not careful, they'll lead you down the wrong path, right? Like a phrase that we've used with our kids is show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? Like that's true for adults too. You know, if you aren't picking people that you want to be still friends with in 5 years because they're doing the kinds of things that you still want to be doing in 5 years, then you probably shouldn't be friends with them. But those things, you know, sometimes it's easier. You need to ask you need to ask questions and be observant, and then spend time, invest, because the only way you're really gonna know someone's character is by investing. And don't be afraid to walk away if it turns out poorly. Like, I think that's really hard to do sometimes. But there are just times when friendships are, you know, they're either at their end or they're just not a right fit, and that's okay, because not everyone in this world is meant to be your friend.
Definitely have boundaries, you know.
What are those?
Well, it kind of depends on the person, I think. You know, you kind of know, like I you know, like you're talking about, I'm available these times, but I'm not available these times, or even just saying, hey, this is a family thing, but I have this other thing that you can join in with us on, or whatever. So, you know, picking and choosing when people are involved in your life and what parts of your life they're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely agree. A lot of times you get to know a person more by what they're doing than what they're saying. So they might be telling you, oh, all these great things or whatever, but then you see how their life is playing out, and you're like, I don't think you're true to your words. And so that definitely dictates relationship.
Just to add, I suppose, handling your wins and celebrating with you, you know, don't really want competition. I think just, yeah, kind of longevity, being an observer, but also, you know, like Nicole brought up, is like you might have a first impression of somebody, and I've heard people becoming super good friends. So like not letting those things get in the way either, or, you know, maybe some of it I think is our safeguard to like wanna try to size someone up right away, just so there's no uncertainty, or maybe you don't wanna get hurt. And sometimes I think could be harmful in trying to get to know somebody. So I think just keeping yourself open, but also don't jump or dive into something too fast with an expectation. Pace yourself. I think
Yeah.
like fruit will show itself over time, if that makes sense. You know what, fruit in their life will show and prove itself over time. You know, just watching them with others or them being in your life to a certain extent, and then you kind of know, okay, you can keep opening the door a bit, you know, and just letting something happen that seems like that's the path that should be, you know.
Yeah, because that's how a cautious friendship starts, is allowing little bits and pieces, not picking your whole life story like I used to do.
Well, we kept bumping into each other by just doing life at church over time. And then I think things got deeper when like you were going through something again, and I was able to just reach out and check in. You know, and I often tell people, even if I'm super busy, I'm like, if you were having a bad day, will you at least please text me, pray for me today? I mean, I can at least do that.
Yeah.
I can pause whatever I'm doing and say a prayer for somebody, even if I can't get a conversation in or something. I do that all the time. And then just to be true to your word, like if I say praying for you online on a post, I'm like, stop and do it right now. Don't, like, be true to your word that you're gonna pray for somebody. I don't wanna throw that around.
Yeah, well, and I remember, I think when you and I started kind of developing like a more solid friendship, yeah, I was walking through some tough stuff, and you were like, I don't have time to meet, but I need to go clean my cabin. Like, do you want to come with me?
To do that. That's how I roll sometimes. Come on along.
And I was like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Poor thing, he's
Yeah.
trapped with me for an hour in the car, and then the clean, and then an hour back, no. But sometimes we have to meet people too, you know, and I think, in that season too, I mean, I was seeking what you had, you know, cause you have a lot of, hard-earned wisdom and grace, and, you know, those were just things that I needed help with, you know. I've always been a little rough around the edges, and I'm a lot, and so.
But I think you two, like, I think what attracts me to people sometimes too is the personality I don't have, that I do like some of those qualities. So I do like the strong, you know, like both these ladies here that I know pretty well have a strong, discerning personality. And sometimes I'm a little, what is the word? Cautious, not sure, I don't know. So I like that, so that attracts me too, to people. And I also did like, Amanda has taken my maple syrup calls in the middle of other important things too, so like, she's helped me out quite a bit. So there's a give and take for sure. How do I do this?
That was
What
so fun.
temperature?
Watch, you're really close. Yep, it's about to boil over. Just be careful.
Well, when she says, you just gotta depend on the look. I don't know what look I'm looking for. Does this
It
look
was her
right?
first time tapping maple trees,
Yes.
and normally you use a hydrometer is what it's called, and you test it so that you know exactly where it's at. Well, if you've tapped trees for a while, you can kind of tell, because it like, literally, it just looks like a volcano, and then it's like, okay, you're good. Now you gotta bottle it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a very visual learner.
Yeah.
So I literally
you
turn
have to
my
do it.
camera on.
But you have to do it in order to see what it actually does. So yeah, it was super funny. I don't remember what I was doing.
You
but
were in a meeting.
yeah.
You were in, and I'm like, girl, you don't have to take my call. I'll manage. My syrup might not turn out, but.
You can't waste the maple syrup. That just can't happen. You gotta. Yeah, but time spent equals attachment.
I was just gonna say too, I think you have to trust your gut. Like, I think like when you meet people, you kind of get an initial like feeling, right? Like, not always, but trust your gut. If there's even, like I said, I always felt like Amanda was someone I could hang with. But just other things got in the way for a long time. And so I think trusting your gut and then being intentional about building and investing in a relationship that you feel like is worth it. But in the same way, if you feel like something is like, not really sure, you know, I don't care who that person is or who they hang out with or,
How
you know,
long you've
or
been
how,
friends.
right, none of that. Like, if you've got ickies about them, like, there's a reason. So, trust your gut, I think, is part
Yeah,
of what is important about
the
being friends.
bullseye. Like, people are gonna go in and out, and that's okay. It's okay that, you know, they are in a season where they're really busy, or maybe they're walking through something that just is making their character a little bit off, or, you know, there's a lot of different things. So what's needed for you to be a good friend? Like, how do you show up for others? Because we flip that around, right? We've been talking a lot about like what we're seeking, but in what ways do you feel like you excel in showing up?
I think I show up. You know, if there's a call that, hey, I need this thing or whatever, you show up. Even if it's inconvenient, even if it's, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, let's see, it was your basement that was flooded, and we had a shop vac, and Peter and I ran over to save you. It's just showing up. Yeah. We helped.
I needed saving, because when anything breaks in the house or car when you're a single mom, that was like, forget it, I'm done. Forget it, I don't even know anymore. Yeah.
Good.
I think for me, it's just like I like to check in, you know, like if I think of someone, I just like to text them like, hey, thinking of you, or like, hey, I hope you're having a good day, or, you know, or if the Lord like puts something specific on my heart, like messaging and saying like, hey, if, you know, like if you, I feel like, you know, the Lord put you on my heart this morning, if you need to talk, let me know, right, or whatever. And so it's that, and then it's time, you know, and a lot of friends, because we moved a lot and now we don't live by a lot of people we know, some of my friendships are just phone calls, and like people don't do that much anymore. You know, they leave a voicemail and nobody listens to it, and then they text each other. But so some of it for me is phone calls, like being intentional, and it might be an hour phone call once every 3 months, but it's, you know, it's a phone call. And so I think it just depends on the friendship, and it depends on like, are you in the physically in the same, you know, same place? Sometimes it's coffee, you know, like on the regular, you know, like, and that might be all I get of that friend. I mean, for Abby and I, that's, you know, like, I don't know the last time we had coffee, it's been a while. So we do ministry together a lot, but we don't often get, so, you know, so for us, when we get together to just have coffee, that's just us being friends, right?
Yep.
So I think it's just being intentional with those things. Those are the ways that I try to show up and like I said, when the Lord lays someone on my heart, just letting them know. It doesn't have to be anything difficult or complicated, just simple, and, you know, hey, someone thinks about you.
I think one thing I've learned even in the last couple years is I have a friend that has known me since I was like 18. She's a little older than me, and so she was in a role where she actually mentored me. And now we're good friends now. And I think like she's kind of my go-to person a little bit when I'm like like fluffy, I don't know what you want to call it, like when I'm like, and I realized, because she was honest with me at one point, that sometimes I'll call her and it will just be like all about me, and she's has something going on that's really big and we never even got to it. And so sometimes now I've been like, I will ask her first, how are you doing? And there's been times where I don't even talk about why I called initially, and she needs me and needs me to listen to her more than what I really needed that day. And sometimes that's helpful to put things in perspective too, of like, okay, this really isn't a big deal. She's in a different place and she needs it. So it's like, it's not me like, hey, I need you this way all the time. It's like realizing, oh, what does she need today? even if I'm not, I think I'm not in a good place, what's going on with her? And so I think it's just being intentional that way.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave you with a couple just practical tips, and we're gonna start wrapping up here. Number one, assess your current friendships. Like, take a look at who are you spending the most time with, and really, it's quality over quantity, because you can't fit that in the people you were designed. Number two, determine where you'd like to go. Who is someone you can intentionally seek out to help you get there? You know, whether it's a formal mentor or just somebody that has a skill or is further, you know what I mean? Like if you're raising toddlers, then can you find a friend that has preteen, you know, like the season that you're heading into? Can you find somebody who's doing well in the season that you're heading into? And number three, how can you work on yourself to be a better friend? Because it is a two-way street. And I do think that, you know, friendships start out in different places and spaces and, you know, different stages. But I think it's always just good to consider, how can I do better as a friend too? So, does anybody have any questions?
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I think the only thing I would add is just don't be afraid to ask. Like, everybody needs people, right? Like, I need people, you need people, like, everybody needs people. Don't be afraid to ask. It doesn't make you needy because you need a friend or because you want a mentor. Like, and mentorships can turn into friendships. They don't always, but they can. And so, like, if what you can get right now is a mentorship, like, it doesn't mean it can't eventually turn into a friendship or maybe lead to you meeting someone else that can be a friend, you know. But don't be afraid to need people, because I think we live in a culture that tells us, like, you need to be everything, you know, all the time, and you don't need to need anybody, and that's just very not true. We all need people, and I think it's really important to allow yourself to need people. So
I would add to that is just keep showing up, because you can't beat people if you're not showing up. So like isolating isn't gonna help get you there. So do as much as you can where you can. Because I've met Angela more because she volunteers at one of our big events, and like I love her, and like it's fun. And if she didn't say yes, I wouldn't have that opportunity to get to know her like that. So I would say you have to keep showing up, so there's potential for you to meet people too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, anything that you're going through isn't unique to you. Somebody else has gone through it, and so you can definitely find somebody who's gone through the same thing and can help you through that season. And maybe you're just friends or mentors during that season, and then you move on to somebody else. But we all have commonalities in this room, even though you don't know me, I don't know you.
Yeah, great tips. Any final thoughts?
I would just encourage everyone that like we are all God's resources. Like He created who we are for a reason. We all have a part that we all need to do and be because of who He's created us to be. And so, and even what we've walked through, the good and the bad, that's God's resources. And so it's like you just mentioned, like somebody's got your story, and it's sometimes the enemy just wants to isolate us and make us feel like no one would get it or would understand. And it's not true. People are out there, and you're just as valuable as maybe they are. So somebody might need you. So show up for somebody else.
Yeah, whatever you survived could be the key to somebody else's survival. You know, and we do need people that are going to show up for us and tell us we can make it. Sometimes that just, you know, or just not being alone makes a big difference. You know, somebody to just listen. And like when I was a single mom, that was a big thing for me. Is I just needed to like hear the thoughts out loud, because I'm like a verbal processor, you know. So I'll say things and I'll be like, oh, that's really dumb, or I'll say something and be like, good idea, you know. But I just sometimes there's something about saying it out loud that just helps me kind of process. And so, like as a single mom, I really needed people around me to help me just with whether it's a gifting or a weakness, you know, like I just needed people to help me with that. So I'm super thankful. Okay. Well, thank you. thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed. Stay connected.